My parents had me when they were still young, both 21. They weren't secure and didn't have a maternal or paternal instinct back then. Because of this, my dad's parents stepped up, and they took care of me when my parents were busy with school or work. I was raised by my grandparents until I was a young teen, and then it only stopped because my life got busier with the encouragement of my grandparents. I was involved in extracurricular activities, paid for by my grandparents, spending more time with friends and exploring the world. My grandparents taught me a lot of skills, from cooking and cleaning to how to take care of myself. They did it because they were aware that I might not get taken care of if something happened to them, and I was left just with my parents. For years, my parents resented me. I know it, they know it, and my grandparents know it. They showed it in smaller ways, complaining when I asked for their signature, or when my grandparents told them they needed to show up at parent-teacher conferences at school. They would grumble about me being sick and ask my grandparents to deal with it. Sometimes they would take me to an amusement park and get annoyed when they couldn't go on all the rides together because that meant leaving me alone. Sometimes my grandparents had plans and couldn't let me stay with them for a night, and my parents wanted to go out. Then they had more kids, who are now toddlers, and they're way better parents to them. I'm not saying they're perfect because nobody is, but they are being parents to them. They deal with every tantrum without acting like they hate the baby. They play with them, read bedtime stories, sing with them, fight over who stays home with the sick kid because both want to be there. They know their older toddler's favorite foods and music. They want these kids. It only came to my attention recently because my parents suddenly decided the three of us needed therapy. They felt that being better parents to their younger children meant I would forgive them, and it would make it up to me for not being there for me, even though they still aren't. They talked about me being distant and not spending time with the family, and how they don't know me. I told them of course they don't, because they were never around me, and when they were, they wished I wasn't there. I told them they couldn't honestly expect that being better parents to their other kids would make it up to me. They mentioned something about siblings and how I speak like they're not. I said because my parents are dad's parents, not them, and the kids I live with have very different parents to me and a very different life. I also reiterated that being better to them is good because no kid should go through what I did, but it doesn't make anything up to me. They told me it was spiteful not to take joy in my siblings' better situation, and they accused me of being stubborn and unforgiving. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your egg and sperm donors didn't want you as their child and pawned you off onto grandparents, who thankfully stepped up to the plate. They told me it was spiteful not to take joy in my siblings having better, and they accused me of being stubborn and unforgiving. How is it spiteful to not take joy and watching your younger sibs actually have their parents engage with them instead of throwing them away? What? So they've accused you of being stubborn and unforgiving. Have they also asked for your forgiveness? Acknowledged how they failed you? Even if they had asked, that wouldn't have made them entitled to your forgiveness, but it would have been the first baby step. Their lack of logic is baffling. This is probably a clue to making you their babysitter. This would be a great way for you all to bond, so we can go off and be a couple again. You should make it clear that that ain't happening. Go to therapy, not for them, but for you. Work through your feelings of abandonment and resentment, and tell them exactly why their behavior for your entire life wasn't acceptable. My wife, female 44, and I, male 45, have twin daughters, teens. For the sake of clarity, I'll call them Ava and Isabel. The girls have a good relationship, but they're wildly different when it comes to academics and extracurriculars. Ava's an A-plus student with a strong GPA, involved in student theater, a competitive swimmer, and a track runner. We're very proud of her and know she'll have her choice of college. Isabel, on the other hand, is probably your more average student. She has a 2.9 GPA, and her extracurricular involvement is more limited. She enjoys singing and taking lessons, but doesn't do much more outside of that. My wife and I have encouraged Isabel to do more if she can, but she seems happy, and it never appears that she's in her sister's shadow. Recently, Ava got 100% on major coursework, which will look great on college applications. I know how proud she and my wife were, and we all had a meal with different family members to celebrate. We made a toast for Ava during the meal, and I could tell she was happy. After this was completed, I decided to make a toast to Isabel. I said how hard she was working and that we knew she'd go on to the college she dreamed of, and we were just as proud. Isabel seemed happy, and I didn't think there was any issue. When we got home, Ava was really annoyed at me. When I asked why, she said I'd tried to invalidate her achievements and make Isabel share the spotlight when she hadn't done anything to deserve it. I told her this was unfair. I wanted Isabel to feel included and valued if we always celebrated Ava's achievements. Ava replied that this was a lame excuse and that if Isabel wanted to be celebrated, she should put in the effort level she does. I ended the conversation, and when I spoke with my wife later, she agreed with Ava. She said that Ava deserves to be celebrated in her own way without feeling like she's one person with Isabel. I just thought I was trying to make Isabel know she's recognized, but now I think it was the wrong move. Am I the idiot? Good intentions, poor execution. You are the idiot. Ava's right. You were gathered to celebrate her achievement, and you decided to try and celebrate mediocrity along with it. They're two separate people and should have their own moments that are specifically theirs. You can celebrate Isabel when she does something worth celebrating. Don't try to piggyback her into Ava's time to shine. You weren't celebrating equally. You were lowering the bar of what should be celebrated so Isabel could be included. What the two girls have achieved is not equal, and as such, they shouldn't be celebrated equally. Also, how patronizing for Isabel. Teenage is not 6. Isabel's old enough to understand that life isn't fair, and not all family gatherings are about her. So giving her a tepid participation trophy like this is basically just saying you don't think she has the emotional maturity to celebrate her sister, while also implying you don't think she'll ever achieve anything herself. Obviously, I doubt this was OP's intention, but Isabel presumably isn't stupid, so I bet she understood the subtext here. I'm going against the grain and saying, not the idiot. I've been the mediocre kid, and it hurts to see your siblings lauded and celebrated while you get no acknowledgement. And it's not a matter of just do something worth celebrating, because after a while, you just don't feel like trying because you know you can't compete. This may not have been the right time for what OP did, but they're in an awkward position and trying to keep both kids happy. Ava has a right to be mad, but that doesn't mean that OP was an idiot. It isn't easy to balance very different needs for both kids, and at least OP is trying. This didn't work, so you try something different. My mom, 49, and I, a teen female, are in therapy together. This is something we probably should have done 6 or 7 years ago, but my mom had a fantasy of what it would be like and believed it would be that way automatically. The background. I lost my dad when I was 7. My parents were happily married. Mom and Dad had been together since they were teenagers, so my mom was never single. A year after Dad died, Mom threw herself back into the dating world, where she met her now husband, Sean. I remember her sitting me down to say she was dating, and she admitted to me then that she had wanted to date a lot sooner and didn't because of me. But she hated being alone and wouldn't stay that way any longer. When my mom met Sean, she really fell for him fast, and they got married when I was a tween. I had only known Sean for about 4 months when they got married. My mom was really happy. I was less happy. Sean's an all right guy, and I know he loves my mom, and I know he would love for me to accept him as a real parent and not just as the dude my mom married or the unwanted step-parent, his words. But I don't want a father-daughter relationship with him or anyone who isn't Dad. My mom has been so over the top about it. She wanted me to let Sean say vows to me during their wedding, wanted me to hold his hand in photos for the wedding, and was annoyed when those things didn't happen. Outside of the wedding, she wanted me to take him to my and Dad's spot, which was just for us. She wanted me to invite him to my hockey's practice family day because Dad went there for the first 3 years, and she pesters me every year about it. She bought Father's Day cards with Dad on them before they had kids together, and got mad when I'd add a step. She got extra mad when I bought my own card that said step on it after they had kids together. So after years of us not getting along, Mom decided 2 months ago we needed therapy. She said I needed to accept that she had remarried and find a way to embrace all the changes because I was leaving myself behind and she was tired of it. Then last week, I finally decided to talk a bit more, and I told Mom and the therapist that I might still need to accept Mom's remarried status, but she needs to accept that things aren't going to be the same as when Dad was alive. I told her we might have a stepfamily now, but it's never going to function the same as our family before. I told her I would never be Sean's daughter, and Sean would never be my dad. I told her she would not see Sean giving me away someday. My relationship with him will always look different than mine with Dad would have. And I said I felt like she had never worked on accepting that at all. The therapist felt all this was valid, but my mom was angry and accused me of dismissing the facts of step-parents, that step-families can be just as wonderful as nuclear bio-families. She also said I'm the sole reason things won't be the same. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It sounds pretty unrealistic, and it seems like your mom was living in a fantasy world to expect you to instantly view this new husband as a father figure. I'm glad she's finally seen that therapy's needed, but she needs to listen to you. Her approach to pushing you all these years and dismissing your feelings is one of the main factors why this family vision of hers isn't working, not you. Has she never thought that if she had backed off and supported you to have whatever relationship you wanted with him, it might have naturally grown? You can build a good relationship with a step-parent over time without ever having to call them dad or having to treat them like that. Sounds like she wants to live in a Hallmark movie. Sorry, that really sucks. I'm 38 female, pregnant with my first and probably only child. My sister 36 is also pregnant, but this is her third child, and this baby comes several years after her last child, who's a preteen. I struggled with fertility problems for many years. I couldn't get pregnant despite trying from the age of 24. We underwent numerous tests, but no clear reason for this was ever found. We tried taking breaks between trying. We tried fertility medications in recent years. And finally last year, we went through IVF, which was successful for us. You might wonder what this has to do with my baby's name. Well, let me explain. My husband and I had a boy and a girl's name chosen pretty much from the time we started trying for a baby. We promised to use these names whenever we had a baby, and we planned to have at least 2 children. Those names stayed the names throughout everything, but when my sister was pregnant with her first child, she and her husband struggled to agree on a name. She mentioned my husband's chosen names once during my pregnancy and said how lucky we were to have agreed. Then when her daughter was born, she decided to use the girl's name my husband and I had chosen, and she confessed that this is how the name was agreed on. She said her husband liked our chosen name, and she didn't think it was bad, so she decided it would be better for them to use it so their baby could have a name. She told me not to look upset, because admittedly I got emotional when she said this, and told me at least the name would be used. Then when her son was born, she used the name we had chosen for the same reason. They couldn't agree on another name. This did strain our relationship, and I was and still am hurt that she was so dismissive of my feelings and so blunt about what they did. She strongly implied that she expected I would never have children to use the name for. Then a couple of years after her son was born, she made the comment that we agreed so easily we could find another name if it worked, implying that we could not and should not use these names anymore. We ended up mixing our boy and girl choices for this baby. Both had neutral names, and we decided that since we loved all 4 names, mixing them wasn't a huge change. My sister won't like this, but honestly, we don't see each other much anymore. She only reached out more now because we're both pregnant at the same time, and she repeatedly is asked about the name we've chosen. I've refused to tell her, but my 2 brothers know. They thought I should have used the original name as intended and given our sister the middle finger, but they also understand why we chose to mix them. She sent me a very cranky text a few nights ago saying I'm being so petty and these babies should grow up close together, and we should be working on our relationship. Instead, I exclude her and make a point of saying I don't want her to know anything. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. And if she's due first, I'd seriously consider telling her a fake name that you'd never want for your own kid, just to see if she's going to scoop you on that one too. Okay, sis, I'll tell you. It's Ermentrude for a girl and Engelbert for a boy. Your sister needs to check her entitlement. She couldn't come up with meaningful names for her own children. She used the names you had your heart set on using and justified it by saying, well, it's not like you can use them. Does she have a history of being insensitive and tactless? I mean, sure, no one's entitled to a name for their child, but you and your partner decided on those names and were going through everything trying to have a child together. She swoops in and acts like she did you both a favor in using those names so they don't go to waste. She can't see how horrible and insensitive she's been? Jesus, don't let her know. Your sister is the idiot. I recently learned that my sister-in-law used my sister's girl name for her baby girl. They were both pregnant at the same time, and one was born 2 months before the other. She said something along the lines of, oops, sorry. Oops, sorry? Name theft is now the new family bonding ritual. I might be reading into it too much, but it's incredibly strange that they claimed they couldn't agree on names, went through loads of names that one liked and the other hated. Then your name is the one that suited them both? Not just once, but for both of their children? They didn't try that hard, and it was easier to invalidate your feelings. My daughter-in-law, 29, does contemporary art. I don't know how to explain it. It's more abstract than anything, and I suggest a Google. I don't like the art style, but that's my own opinion on it. Like one piece with just colors on a canvas, and it has a deep meaning. I don't get it. She submitted some stuff to the local art show and got in. So this Friday it's supposed to happen, and the whole family was invited. The tickets to get in are $30. Personally, I would rather spend that money on other things. Not to mention that I don't like the art style. So it'll be a full day of BSing about what I like about the art. It sounds miserable. So I declined, saying I had another event. She gave me a call to reconsider, but my response was no, and I had plans. That's when she told me I had to go. I reiterated what I said before. She started to argue with me about not going. I kept saying I had plans, and she accused me of not liking her art. After the third time she accused me of that, I snapped and told her yes, I don't like her art. I think it's a waste of money to go. She called me an idiot and hung up. I'm going to go with everyone's the idiot here. She should have just accepted your no because you could have actually had plans for all she knew. But your response was mean. She's part of your family now, and spending $30 to show support at her art show shouldn't be such a difficulty for you or something you call a waste of money to her face. Is your relationship with your daughter-in-law good otherwise? This seems like an incredibly easy way to show support to someone in your family, and calling it a waste of money is crappy. Agree, everyone's the idiot. Parents don't enjoy sitting through elementary school performances or sports where the kids are picking daisies in the field instead of doing what they're supposed to. Or sit through 4-hour college graduation ceremonies when we only need to be there for 5 minutes. But we go to support family. It wouldn't have killed you to suck it up for one day to make your child and daughter-in-law happy. There's a huge difference between going to see your 8-year-old's concert you don't want to go to and paying to see a grown adult's work that's not your actual child. OP, not the idiot. It doesn't make you an idiot to not want to waste money on being miserable or having a fake day. You attempted several times to get her to stop, and she didn't stop until she got the reaction she was looking for from you.